Oh, hi. So, a few years go by and a few dramatic life experiences for myself. And then we get to the year 2000 and they're making a Scream 3. And back in the early days of the interweb, we all had these crazy conspiracy theories about the first two Scream movies. I remember the first one, the big deal, and this was around the second one too, was, because we were always, who's going to be the killer and what's going to be their motive. It's the best, funnest part of Scream. And when, after the first one, some of us believed very strongly in the fact that there had to be a third killer. There was this big theory that sprouted from the first one originally that there was a third killer. Mainly, I think it all stemmed from the fact that one, and maybe even both of them, would not be able to hang Drew Barrymore's character up in that tree that fast. Especially if one of them had an alibi and wasn't really there. Because Stu was supposed to be at Tatum's house, but was that before or after? Was it all night? And then Billy, of course, shows up at Sydney's immediately thereafter. So there was a theory that someone was helping Billy, because it was anyway. That's neither here nor there. And my personal third killer theory was her dad. I thought her dad all along, the whole dad set up with him being framed in the first one, and then in the second one, he's like loosely mentioned, "Oh, her dad's out of town, I already checked," which was a line from who ends up being the killer. And then, yeah, so there was, that was my personal thing, as I was behind the whole dad thing. Some people thought that Dewey was secretly the third killer, and others thought then we had this Randy theory, especially after the second one. After the second one, we thought maybe Randy was the third killer, because myself and others were not convinced by Randy's death. If you take the first two movies, all the killing scenes, all the kills, all the deaths, Randy's is a little off. It's a little different. It's in the van. We don't really see it. We don't really hear it. I mean, you do, but you got the music going by, and you see through the mirror, but you don't visibly see him getting stabbed. And then when they find his body, it looks, to us at the time, it looks very staged, I guess it would be the word I'm looking for. So we thought that Randy faked his death and he was going to come back. Anyway, so then Scream 3 happens. We all know the whole behind the scenes about why Scream 3 is different. It wasn't written by Kevin Williamson, blah, blah, this, blah, blah, that. I've loved Scream 3. I always got a kick out of it. I always thought of it like a comedy. I love how it was filmed the same time as Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, so they've got their, that's why they're got the little cameo. It's funny, it's cute, it's meta. It's behind the scenes Hollywood. That's what it was supposed to be about. It becomes about Stab. Because they were still trying to be like, the whole point of Scream is it turns into this thing that's out of control due to it being glorified on film, becoming the thing that the original killers were inspired by in the first place. Full circle. So I like the campiness of it. I treat it like a comedy. You got Carrie Fisher cameo and this and that. Oh, but also the fact that with the whole Jay and Silent Bob thing, that Wes Craven has the cameo in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. So that's because they were filming on the same line. So I discovered Scream 3. This is a few years later. I made some questionable choices during those years that put me in a certain position in my life. And when I finally got around to the point where I could watch Scream 3, it must have been, yes, shortly after its theatrical release, because it was on pay-per-view. It just came out on pay-per-view back then, when you could, order a movie and they'll put it on your television, what? But it was like a channel. See, back then it was a channel, and all the channels were blocked out fuzzy. But if you paid for the movie, they unlock it, and you can see it. So I was at my friend's house, and he convinced his mother. It was quite a period of begging and pleading and arguing. But anyway, he talked his mother into using her credit card to rent us Scream 3 on the pay-per-view. so him and I could watch it. And I remember while they're doing their thing, we're like missing the time frame for when the movie starts. I'm like, oh no, we're gonna miss the beginning. We're gonna miss the beginning. So I've got the channel ready to go because we're like, oh, the payment hasn't gone through yet. And the movie's starting. So it's all blurified as if, you know, it's one of those channels you find when you're a kid that you never change. And so I'm kind of hearing the beginning, but I can't see it. And the movie started, and Cotton's on the phone in the car, and he's racing home to get to his girlfriend. I don't know what's going on. And that was about the part when he's, you know, there being attacked, the opening kill finally came through, and we were able to enjoy the movie. So that's how I watched Scream 3. So all first three Scream movies was just on a little box. This is an older television back in, you know, 22 years ago, really? So, you know, old square TV. And I enjoyed Scream 3 very much so. I believe the first time I saw it, I thought the cop was the killer. I, did not trust Detective Kincaid, who, spoiler alert for, who is now married to Sydney. How perfect and poetic is that? And of course, Gail's bangs are terrible in Scream 3. Like, her hair probably her hair looks great in 1. It looks the best, I think, in 2. 3, it looks terrible, but I love that they reference it and make that meta joke in the new Scream, where if you're listening carefully when she's doing her show and they cut back and you hear her saying, if I ever think about getting bangs again, talk me out of it, or something like that. It's hilarious. So I love Scream 3. Most people put it at the bottom of their list. I don't think so. The original 3, I mean, it's not as good as 1 or 2, but I like 3 very much so. The killer reveal being so dramatic and random, it's like, okay. But again, with the third killer, we were expecting this big reveal that someone was going to be behind it all along. And of course, you get the Randy tape, and they set it up that way. They booked it that way. This trilogy is going to reveal something about the beginning. Because, of course, you know, Randy's rules were all over the trailers. So when it turns out to be, spoiler alert, her long-lost brother that she didn't even know, who's actually the director. And then they do the fake-out where you think he's dead. And again, you didn't see it. So they're following that rule. If you didn't actually see them get killed and stabbed, they're not really dead. Well, we didn't see Randy get stabbed. Anyway. So it turns out to be her brother, who's also the director of the movie. And I never, the mother stuff when she's dreaming about the mom and hallucinating the mom. And oh my gosh, I saw her. But I guess it's supposed to be him. Because then that's how he shows up at the end. Pretending to be her mom. So he's using the voice change. So it's really him. And she just has that one dream. It's not really the ghost. It's Roman pretending to be in a body bag of her dead mother. I can't really get behind that. But it does have Bishop from Aliens and Alien 3 and the others. And I met him. His name is, it escapes me at this current moment. But I'm a big fan of his. Dang it, my bad. I have his autograph. Well, let's not linger on that right now. I'll Google it later because I'm just having a little brain fart. So, yeah, the killer reveal was cool. Wasn't who I expected. And again, I was waiting for, you know, Randy or her dad. But it wasn't. Even though her dad was in the movie. Her dad comes back for Scream 3 and I was like, aha! No. But my experience with it was again, just watching it with a friend at a friend's house. Wow, all 3 were with a friend at a friend's house. On a little TV. Yeah. 25 years ago, and I kind of eventually got over the effect that 1 and 2 had on me. And then by the time 4 rolled around, I was a completely different person. And learned different lessons from that one. The first one I got to see on the big screen. And the last one, shortly before I became a father. So, that's a story for a different day. Okie dokie.